Have you ever wondered what could bring the Son of God to tears? In the midst of miracles, teachings, and the tumult of his ministry, there was a moment when Jesus Christ, the Messiah, stopped and wept. But why? Why would he, who calmed the storm and raised the dead, shed tears over Jerusalem? Today, let us journey back to that moment, uncover the deep emotions and profound messages hidden in his tears. In the Gospel of Luke 19:41, we read, "As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it." This poignant moment offers a profound glimpse into the heart of Jesus Christ. Here, amidst his triumphant journey, the Savior of the world pauses, overcome with emotion. His tears, a rare and deeply moving display, reveal a depth of compassion and sorrow that speaks volumes. Jesus weeping over Jerusalem was not merely a response to the physical beauty of the city or its impending destruction in a brutal siege foretold. Rather, these tears were for the people of Jerusalem, for their spiritual blindness and the tragic future that awaited them. His heart ached for a city that, despite its religious significance, failed to recognize the time of its visitation by God himself. In Matthew 23:37, Jesus expresses this lament more explicitly. "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing." These words echo a deep longing and a divine frustration. They show Jesus as a compassionate shepherd, yearning to gather his flock, to offer them shelter and salvation. Yet they were not willing. This rejection of his loving invitation magnified his sorrow. Furthermore, Jesus' tears also speak to his profound understanding of human nature and the consequences of its waywardness. He wept not just for what was, but for what could have been. His tears were for the lost opportunities, the unheeded warnings, and the ignored invitations to embrace a better path. Thus, in this moment, we witness the intersection of divine prophecy and deep human emotion. Jesus, fully God yet fully man, experiences and expresses grief for his beloved city and its people. In his tears, we find a call to awareness and reflection. They invite us to consider our own response to God's call, challenging us to recognize and embrace the divine presence and guidance in our lives. The rejection of the Messiah. The theme of rejection is a poignant and recurring one in the narrative of Jesus Christ's life and ministry. It reaches a profound depth in the context of his lament over Jerusalem. The Messiah, who was prophesied to be the Redeemer and Savior, was met not with open arms, but with closed hearts. Isaiah, centuries before Jesus' birth, painted a portrait of the coming Messiah with words that echoed through the annals of time. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, Isaiah 53:3. This prophetic declaration captures the essence of the Messiah's earthly experience, a path marked by rejection and suffering. Jesus, in his mission of love and redemption, came to his own, the very people who had awaited the Messiah for generations. Yet paradoxically, they did not receive him. This rejection was not a mere oversight. It was a profound dismissal of the very one who came to offer life in its fullest. His lament over Jerusalem thus becomes a lament for humanity's inability to recognize and embrace its hope and salvation. The rejection Jesus faced was multifaceted. It was not just a denial of his teachings or a refusal to follow his ways. It was a fundamental rejection of his identity as the Son of God. The people he came to save were blinded by their expectations, prejudices, and misconceptions. They sought a conqueror who would overthrow their earthly oppressors, but Jesus came as a humble servant offering a kingdom not of this world. This rejection culminated in the ultimate act of denial, the crucifixion. Yet even in this extreme rejection, Jesus' response was one of forgiveness and love. On the cross, he prayed for his persecutors. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. His lament over Jerusalem, therefore, was not just a cry over their current state, but a mournful anticipation of the consequences of their rejection of him. prophecy of destruction. The prophecy of destruction that Jesus uttered over Jerusalem is a chilling and profound aspect of his ministry. In Luke 19:44, he foretells a grim future for the city, detailing a siege that would be both relentless and thorough. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. This prophecy, stark in its vivid imagery, was tragically realized in 70 AD. The Roman Empire, in a display of might and retribution, besieged Jerusalem. The city, once a beacon of religious significance, was brought to ruin, its temple destroyed, leaving a legacy of desolation and loss. This catastrophic event was not merely a moment in history, it was a physical manifestation of a deeper spiritual truth. Jesus' words were not just a warning about the physical destruction of a city. They were a lamentation over a people's spiritual blindness and their failure to recognize the time of their visitation by God Himself. The destruction of Jerusalem serves as a poignant, sobering reminder of the severe consequences that can follow when God's messages and messengers are ignored or rejected. Jesus' tears over Jerusalem were not only for its impending physical destruction, but also for the spiritual death that preceded it. He mourned for a people who had every opportunity to embrace redemption, but chose instead a path that led to their ruin. This prophecy and its fulfillment are a powerful testimony to the importance of heeding divine warnings and recognizing God's work in our midst. The story of Jesus weeping over Jerusalem transcends its historical context to become a timeless reminder of the consequences of spiritual blindness and the importance of recognizing divine truth. In today's world, where the hustle of life often drowns out the call to spiritual awareness, this account holds a particularly poignant significance. It serves as a clarion call for introspection and action in a society where the teachings of Christ are frequently overlooked or outright rejected. We are urged, through this powerful narrative, to reflect on our own understanding and acceptance of Christ's message. Just as Jerusalem stood at a crossroads, so too do we face choices that determine our spiritual trajectory. The tears of Jesus are a reminder of the deep love and concern He holds for each of us, urging us not to repeat the mistakes of the past, but to embrace a path of enlightenment and redemption. As followers of Christ, we are called not only to internalize His teachings, but also to actively share His message of love, hope, and salvation with the world around us. In a society often characterized by division and despair, the example set by Jesus, one of compassion, empathy, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of humanity, is more relevant than ever. His tears over Jerusalem are a testament to the urgent and enduring need for us to be lights in the darkness, guiding others towards a path of spiritual awakening and fulfillment.